DoctorBenjyFM, folks, welcome back to a new series on the channel. And I say a new series, a series that I'm bringing back. Do It Better was a series that I did a few years ago, and there has been some developments in the footballing world, which means this series this year is coming back, and there is no better place to start than at Chelsea Football Club, where Frank Lampard was sacked after 19 games as manager, and Roman Abramovich and the board at Chelsea decided that it was time to let a club legend like Frank leave and get Thomas Tuchel in. But not in this world. No, I will be starting the 2020-21 season as Chelsea manager and doing things a little differently. Now, Frank Lampard had a very good season at Chelsea last season, the season before the current one, finishing in the top four. I remember at the start of that season, nobody thought Chelsea would be in there. Of course, they had the transfer ban, and as soon as that ban was lifted, signings were brought in. Now, whether Lampard brought those signings in, or the board at Chelsea, or the directors, or whoever, right, is in charge of bringing in personnel at Chelsea, for whatever reason, it never seemed to quite click. It was like there was Lampard's idea, and the way he wanted things to go, and the board had their ideas, and the way they wanted to go, and now they've hired a German coach to go along with their German signings. You suspect that maybe the board had a vision that was never quite met. And despite being a club legend, it was not enough to keep Lampard in the job. Despite the fact, by the way, I was like, you forget really, because people focus on the league form so much. In the Champions League, Chelsea finished top of their group. Their group was Sevilla, Krasnodar, and Rennes. Now, of course, we can't get that exactly in this, so we'll be given a different Champions League group. But still, 4 wins in a Champions League campaign is always pretty impressive. And again, a good away win away at Sevilla. I'm a little surprised they didn't give him the chance to see that out, but we know now they're probably not likely to win that competition, and Chelsea's objectives will be to stay in the Champions League. And under Frank Lampard's leadership, that wasn't going to happen, it felt like, and I think that's where the board had to make that decision. Now, as I say, what would I do differently? Okay, and we will make some transfers at the start of the season that I think were probably there to be made. It wasn't as if Chelsea was short of money. That said, they've only got 12 million to spend, so there are some outgoings that I would have done as Frank Lampard or as Chelsea boss that will also do, and this is where this first episode will focus around the style of play that I intend to adopt. There'll be 5 episodes, one each week, uploaded at 12 o'clock midday every single day this week to complete the challenge. And before we get started, I should say, if you're thinking of a Football Manager save that you're trying to get into and you don't quite have right now, I recommend this save, the Chelsea save. Do a 1 year save, and at the end of the year, or end of the season, there'll be a spot in my Discord to post your Chelsea progress. I only want the final elements of what you did though. So yeah, send those over and we can look through a few of the save files, maybe some of the more successful or unsuccessful ones. But yeah, discord.gg/DoctorBenjy. There'll be a Chelsea section in there, and we'll do that for all the Do It Betters that we do over the next few weeks and months. So here we go then. Chelsea is the team, blue is the colour, etc. Probably the other way around. 200 grand to spend on the wage budgets. We could obviously look at some loanees. And so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go away a little bit. Well, first let's sort through the squad, and then I'm going to go away and do some transfer business. So you look at the Chelsea team, it's massive. Like, there are so many players out on loan right now. Players that would potentially get into this Chelsea side right now, like Bakayoko. You think about the money that was spent on him. Michi, like, striker issues have existed for Chelsea this year. Of course, they've got Werner and Tammy and Giroud, but they've not quite found their mojo yet. Someone like Ruben Loftus-Cheek that I thought we'd see a lot more of in a Chelsea shirt. That hasn't really happened for him. Zappacosta was brought in not that long ago, and now he's left as well. So what we'll do straight away is we'll filter out the players that are unavailable to us, and they're all the players, of course, that are here on loan. In fact, actually, unavailable would mean players that were injured as well. We don't want that. Chilwell then would be disappearing. But not at club. So you can still see Chelsea have a scrollable list of players here that exist within their lineup. In fact, let's move the camera to the other side just so you can get a better view of the rest of the team. A little bit of early admin. There we go then. So, as I say, it's a deep squad. And for a Champions League side, 3 keepers is what you'd kind of expect. Mendy and Kepa, they're not that different really. Like, obviously the Chelsea board spent a lot of money on Kepa when he signed, 71 million. Mendy's been brought in because Kepa's form was really not very good. He was quite mistake prone, it felt like, and it's obviously not been ideal for them. They've brought in the likes of Thiago Silva, and the window they had, like, if you look at it so far, it's been pretty good. Kai Havertz, Mendy, Mangala Sarr, who of course is here, but then I don't know, Porto, a player that maybe would have featured this year, I don't know. But in Chilwell, Thiago Silva, Timo Werner, and Hakim Ziyech, who is a really quality player from Ajax. They've brought in some really interesting, good young players, and yeah, it's going to be up to me to see how we change things around. Of course, injuries and whatnot will change a little bit depending on what Football Manager saw, as well as what happened in the real world. Obviously, Ziyech had a pretty big injury at some stage and wasn't featuring for a little while. But I'm going to work with the tools that we've got, and as I say, change a few things around. The first thing that stands out to me is that despite the fact Ben Chilwell's injured for 3 to 5 weeks, Chelsea have 4 left-backs. Baba Rahman's here, Emerson, Marcus Alonso and Ben Chilwell. And I think there's a couple of those boys that can probably be moved on. And I think a player like Marcus Alonso, well, he's been at Chelsea for a little while and suited definitely the style that Sarri played. I don't necessarily think he's right for this Chelsea team right now. And of course, Ben Chilwell being the main guy, having someone like Emerson or Baba Rahman being the backup to him seems to make the most sense to me. At centre-back, they've just let Tomori go to AC Milan. There must have something must have happened behind the scenes there. That has to be the case. So with someone like Tomori, he would be a big part of my plans and will be in this save. I certainly won't be letting him go. Christiansen is an interesting one who has been here a little while now and not really ever found a real purple patch of form. He's always been good without being great. And Rudiger, I feel like, has been in a similar situation. So the idea of like Tomori, Thiago Silva partnership, the young English quick defender versus the experienced Brazilian, I kind of quite like that. In central midfield, Danny Drinkwater stands out as someone that isn't really able to play at this level anymore, I don't think, and especially when you compare him to the likes of Jorginho and Kovacic and Kante and of course Mason Mount and Havertz are there now. There's so much exciting prospects in this Chelsea side. It's about finding the blend of them and getting them to function as a unit, as well as bringing players in that also make sense within this. And of course you've got wide men like Ziyech, like Pulisic, like Hudson-Odoi, that again we're going to have to try and get the best out of. Someone like Hudson-Odoi is still very raw in this first season, and I think that's where Lampard maybe went a little bit wrong. Players like Hudson-Odoi, players like Mason Mount, I think too much was arguably put on those players at this time in their Chelsea careers, that the reliance on them started to become a pressure that they couldn't quite handle just yet. I think Mason Mount and players like Kai Havertz are going to be sensational at some point, and both are really good on Football Manager this year, but I don't know, maybe someone a little bit more experienced to play alongside those players would have been an option for them. Just checking, actually, did they sell anybody? I'm trying to remember now. Like the likes of Pedro and Willian, of course, left, but neither play the same style of role. And again, so many players have left out on loan. It's going to be curious to see how we manoeuvre this transfer window. And of course, it's going to depend on who I can sell. I think Danny Drinkwater and probably Marcus Alonso are likely players to leave. There might be a little shuffle around at centre-back and up front. I think having Tammy, Giroud and Timo Werner is causing variety but problems within that, and stylistically they're having to alter the way they play when playing. So as I say, let's do some transfers. I'll join you in just a moment and we'll talk about what those are, but yeah, nice little bit of squad analysis for you there. Okay then, the summer window is complete. It's been really good fun actually, trying to figure out how to mould this Chelsea team in the image and the style that I want. And I've actually done quite a lot of business, despite Chelsea doing quite a lot of business before I even arrived. Let's talk through it then. Let's first focus on, well, the thing is, I've brought players in and I've let players go for reasons that will become clear as we talk through them. So let's do that. Hateboer is the first player that we've brought in. Reece James will ordinarily start games for me if you compare the two. Actually, we don't even need to compare the two. We can just look at both of them. Reece James is a really, really, really good young English prospect. If England didn't have so many good ones, you'd expect Reece James to start almost every game. Like Kyle Walker has sort of fallen away, hasn't he? And we've seen Trent Alexander-Arnold and Reece James, and Wan-Bissaka is another option for England at the back. And I do think Chelsea have got their hands on a real superstar player here in Reece James, and he will start. And he is part of the physicality that I think needs to run through this Chelsea side. And I think that is arguably one of the issues that Chelsea have. They weren't quite aggressive enough when it came to playing football against these Premier League sides. That with the new additions they've made, Chelsea were a little bit soft for me. So I've tried to bring in a little bit more steel, and you'll see that as we go through the rest of the names. In terms of the lineup, this is probably a better way of doing it. Look at the lineup here. Kepa starts the goal for me then. I think he's slightly better than Mendy. I'm of course concerned about his mistakes, but I'm prepared to give him a chance considering the outlay he cost compared to Mendy, right? Mendy is coming as first choice keeper, but the reality is I think Kepa is a slightly better goalkeeper, if only slightly. So we're going to go with Kepa to begin with, and then if I have similar issues to Frank Lampard, then we'll move him out. And Mendy's already here. I don't have to go and buy another goalkeeper, which suits really. Let's put Reece James in there for now, because that's who I envisage being a part of this side. Tomori and Thiago Silva, to me, is the perfect blend of experience and technical ability and pace and learning, right? 22. To me, Tomori could be one of the best defenders. Maybe not in the Premier League. It's difficult because at 22, he's not got that much time to develop to the point of maximum development. Whereas with someone like, I'm trying to think of young defenders that exist in the Premier League now. There aren't that many of them actually. So Tomori is one of the better examples. But alongside Thiago Silva, like if you're going to learn how to play this game, Thiago Silva is the perfect player to put next to him. Like we talked about it before. The fact he's not got these pace or physical attributes, but Tomori has, it's going to be a real joy for us, I'm hoping. Chilwell to the left of them then, of course, brought in a big money signing by Chelsea, £50 million, was really successful with Leicester, has had multiple England caps now, slots in there at left back. Whether he'll start this first game I've got against Everton, I don't know. He's not quite fit enough for it, and I do have options that can play there. Emerson probably being the one to go to. Jorginho, obviously to sit just in front. We saw such a good version of Jorginho at Napoli, and he's the one player that there's so many question marks, it feels like, over at the moment. But playing him in his preferred role, playing him that deep line playmaker role, and letting everyone else in front of him do the running. This is where things get key, right? And I should say Kovacic is suspended. He would fill in here for me instead of Mount, and we'll talk about why in just a moment. But while we're on this midfield section, it's worth noting that Sami Khedira has been brought in. Of course, there's players that have left, and we'll talk through why in a minute. But Sami Khedira has come in. There's already a bit of a German flair now developing through, although I sold Rudiger, there's a German flair developing through this Chelsea side, and I wanted to bring in one of the German players with a bit more experience. If Havertz and Werner aren't quite clicking, they can look to a player like Sami Khedira, who has done a lot in his career, lots of time at Real Madrid, lots of time at Juventus, and was a key player for both those sides at different points, right? We now look at him in this Chelsea side as someone that can play all three of these roles if and when required, and that's key. That's something Chelsea don't have right now, the experience to bring in. There's too much reliance, in my opinion, on players like Mason Mount, on players like Kai Havertz, and I want to have them playing systems that gives them the freedom to go and do whatever they want. Kovacic and Kante kind of speak for themselves. They are phenomenal footballers, one of the best midfield partnerships in the league, I dare say. Really, really good. Ziyech on one side, we need a big season out of him. He's crucial. Him and Hudson-Odoi will battle for that place on that side. But of course, Ziyech can play through the centre as well if required. And Pulisic, similar situation on that side, will play up on that left-hand side, cutting in inside forward. And you'll see it there, tactical style. I'll make no bands about it. We have plugged in a gegenpress. That is a style that is extremely successful in Football Manager this year. Chelsea have the players to play it, whether that be Havertz or Werner, who have played it at different clubs. Bringing in Hateboer, but playing a similar style at Atalanta. Pulisic, of course, a former Dortmund player, sort of grew up learning how to play that style. And I think Leicester, to a degree, played a pressing style as well, which Chilwell would have done too. Kante and Kovacic should eat that up all day long. They should be loving that. And Tammy Abraham, one of the better pressing forwards on the game this year, comes in. Alongside, the likes of Werner, who's got a little injury at the moment, so can't feature. And you'll notice that Giroud is missing, and we've brought in Andrea Belotti, which seems like a pretty crazy thing to do when you consider that Tammy's sort of the young player coming through. Werner is the next big thing at Chelsea. They were hoping, of course, it hasn't worked out in real life, and was one of the reasons Frank got sacked. With that in mind, I've brought in a player like Belotti, who once again plays that pressing forward role and fits in around here straight away. Like, there's criticisms of teams like Liverpool, right, where they've got Bobby Firmino, but they've not got anyone to play similar to him or play slightly different to him to give Liverpool a dynamism. And here at Chelsea, I want to make sure that if we were missing Werner, Belotti can slot straight in. And Tammy Abraham is one of, his attributes in Football Manager are extraordinarily good. I want to get the best out of them. Obviously, you're looking at work rates, you're looking at the physicality, the aggression in pressing forwards, and I think he's got all those things. So it'd be interesting to see out of the three strikers who nails down that spot, and it's going to be largely based on form, right? We've got lots of games, cup games, European games, as well as the Premier League. Who nails down that spot for me? Just quickly going back to Pulisic, by the way, we've brought in someone else to play alongside the forward line if required. We've got Mislav Orsic, who is one of these players that, if you played FIFA last year, he was quite good on FIFA, but in terms of work rate, in terms of acceleration, and the big thing and the key thing for me with Orsic is that he will happily play. It might be Orsic, by the way. I realise it might be Orsic, and I've been saying Orsic. I think it's Orsic because he's Croatian. The key thing is that he's happy to be the backup or a squad player in this system. He's cost me £8 million. He was a goal-scoring winger last year for Dynamo Zagreb. That could be crucial just to pick up a few goals here or there in key games when we're looking to rotate. I've got no issue bringing him in. Great agility, great pace, 15 finishing from a wider area as well. I think this could be quite a smart signing, all things taken into account. You'll notice we've got the 4-3-3. Gegenpress, playing slightly defensively. The second tactic we've got loaded is the reverse of that, and that's when you bring in the likes of Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz has got phenomenal attributes this year on FM. It would be stupid not to use him in some capacity in games which I think we should be winning quite comfortably. This is what we do. We play a Kai Havertz type player in these roles, and of course Mason Mount can do a very similar job in behind as well. So I think the key thing when building the squad, and this sort of comes down to who we've let go at the same time, right? Giroud has gone, Marcos Alonso's gone, Rudiger's gone. I will say, and interesting this really because it was quite similar. I thought about getting Mario Mandzukic in. He starts the game as a free transfer. I thought if we could get Giroud out, get Mandzukic on like 80 grand, but he's gone to PSG, so it didn't ever happen. And that's when I thought, well, actually, no then. Let's bring in Belotti and let's have the dynamism of having 3 very similar strikers. And at some point, we could even play 2 of them if you want to switch to that. But I want to keep a very consistent system where in the centre here, we just flip the triangle in midfield all the time, playing inside forward roles, playing pressing forward roles, and having players to slot into those systems so that the players in the team understand and know what they're doing. Just to round off this episode then, I'm going to play a couple of games and we're going to come back and we're going to see how we've done in the early season. Let's hope it goes well. Let's hope it goes as well as it did for Frank Lampard, because they started off quite well. So I say quite well. I think they lost the first game 4-0. Let's try and avoid that. Or was that last season? I can't remember. The year has been a blur. Right, folks, welcome back. I said I was going to come back after a few games. I'm coming back after 2 because there's something really cool happening right now. You have to sort of ignore this bit because it kind of looks weird. It looks like we've got both Fulham feedback, but we haven't. One's Fulham, one's Everton. We've won both games, which is a good start so far. A good win against Everton, a 5-1 win against Fulham. What's really cool to see, we've played both systems. Which one do you think we played the more defensive midfielder in, and which one do you think we played the more attacking midfielder in? If you said this one was the more defensive midfielder, you would be correct. If you so this one here, actually, I didn't click into my save, and this one, we played the more attacking player. We had sort of Kai Havertz roaming a little bit more in that one. Belotti played as well. The away game, that one, and then the home game against Everton. But winning the ball high up the pitch. And the reason I'm bringing this to you now is we're going to play a couple more. I've got Stevenage in the cup, but then Manchester City. And I want to see if these interceptions that we're making, so again, high up the pitch, will be achieved against Manchester City. That's going to be really key for us this season. I feel like that the players have settled in really, really well. Goals for Pulisic in the first game, 2 goals in the first 20 minutes, and that was enough to see us win it. We made 3 changes as well. Looked really, really good in that one. A silver penalty, kicked things off. Kovacic, they've got 2 really good goals. There's one goal in particular that was a real good example of how I want us to play this year, and I'm going to bring you that one now. Actually, let's show you that one. So it started with Fulham playing the ball really long and it coming to nothing, and then this piece of play was just this is how I want this Chelsea team to play. You've got Kovacic coming a little bit deeper when you've got sort of, so you can see the triangle there, the 3 of them. You've got Kante, Kovacic and Havertz sort of intertwined, but then the ball to Pulisic, this was key, out from the back into him. Then he's got the option of Chilwell to his left hand side, which he does pick out. These 2 on their left hand side combining lovely, and then Kovacic arriving a little bit later on the edge of the box, very difficult to pick up with a fantastic finish. Of course, that sort of finish isn't going to happen every game, but it was really nice to see us develop the play in that fashion. Intricate stuff with the goalkeeper, and then at the point in where we transition into attack to run forward with someone like Pulisic, the pace of him really important, of course, and a fine finish as well. Right, Manchester City, that's where we're going to end today. I'm then going to come back sort of around the end of November to talk about these fixtures in episode 2. Episode 3 will be sort of January, and then again, middle of the season, sort of that Manchester United-Liverpool period of time, and then the roundup at the end of the season to see how much better we've done than Frank Lampard, and then we'll hopefully go on to do and hopefully avoid being sacked. But seeing this team develop the way it's developing is really curious. I should say at this point, if you're used to watching me mess about on Football Manager, that's not what Do It Better is, really. So, welcome. Hopefully you enjoy watching me talk about the game in a slightly different way. Alright then, gang, a little bit of gameplay to round off the episode. We're in the game against Manchester City. We've just scored. It's been disallowed, so it's still 2-2. So the way this game has gone has been really, really interesting. Things to point out is that Ben Chilwell is not having a particularly good game. First half, it wasn't going particularly well, despite the fact we scored the first goal. Pulisic getting 2 big goals in this game once again. There's a little bit of time left at the end of the game. I'm going to bring on Timo Werner for Tammy Abraham. That's going to be the only switch. We started this game, you can see it here really. We started this game with Kai Havertz playing in this particular role. We started with this system basically, and then this system, and then we switched to this system. So Sami Khedira has come in, Jorginho not on the bench for this one, had a little bit of a knock before the game. So it just settled things down. City had far and away more possession than us. I don't know if that's changed around so much. Well, it's sort of 2% gone our way, 2% down for them. So it's not been that different, but 2-2 against Manchester City, a side that are very, very good. The goals they scored, we'll look at them after this because I want to go through them a little bit and talk about how stylistically we score and how they score and how the quality they've got in their forward line is probably the difference maker, right? So let's go through a few of these. The Pulisic goal that we scored, This is why Hatterbaugh is in the side. It was the little rush back, not only to get the ball ahead of Sterling, but then to go back the other way and get in behind. You can see it here. Kante plays a wonderful ball, and the goal for Pulisic is easy. Doesn't have to work very hard for it at all. And if you take a look at Pulisic's second goal, it's not overly dissimilar, as you'll see. Kante gets it on this side. It's all about the balls in from that side, and you can see Pulisic again. It's got a tap in, really. So the movement from him, absolutely fantastic. They were the positives. Again, Ben Chilwell didn't have a particularly good game. One of the goals, I think the Jesus goal, is a good example as to why. You'll see that in a minute. Sterling causing a few problems at the back there. Put back to Foden. You can't really do much about that. I don't know. This is where we didn't have the defensive midfielder in. Would they have scored that goal with one? We gambled a little bit. We talked about the interceptions beforehand. We didn't find a way to do it enough. I've not looked at the data fully yet, so I'm going to do that in just a moment. The analytical data will have to go into a different... do you know what? I'll do it in the analysis screen in a moment. The goal from Jesus, this one's a bit more frustrating. Bernardo Silva gets past Chilwell. Chilwell does really well, to get back in. At this point, I'm like, okay, we look pretty set here. 2 men marked to the middle, 2 coming inside, but Kovacic is cutting them off. Bernardo turns on the ball, plays a ball in there. Even there, I'm thinking Kovacic is there, Silva's in front. Somehow, Gabriel Jesus slots home. I don't really know how he's got in there to do that, but he has done. So there we go. Overall, in the game, we have played better than them. I think you'd say they've had more possession, but in terms of chances created, shots we've had, shots on target, lots to be happy about from a Chelsea side that, in my opinion, in terms of quality, like the assistant there recommends we say we weren't good enough, but for me, that's a brilliant performance. See, this is so frustrating about Football Manager. I think a 2-2 draw against a side that we are probably inferior to is a great result. That is a frustration I have with the game. Hopefully they don't take that to heart too much. I mean, I've said I was really pleased with how they did. Pulisic getting 2 goals again. Two big goals in the Everton game, 2 big goals here as well. So he's clearly up for the challenge. And Orsic, I'll get that right eventually. Played against Stevenage in midweek. We destroyed them 6-0. He got a few goals in that one, so really, really pleased to see how he did. Very quickly then, let's take a look at the analysis. I just want to see how our interceptions were. Of course, hopefully you can remember what they looked like a moment ago, as I think things are freezing. They're trying to load stuff. Oh, God, we're going back to this now. So you remember the Chelsea-Everton games, the Chelsea-Fulham games. I'm going to hopefully be able to load this, and it's going to show our interceptions against Manchester City. That's the dream. Okay, so interestingly, against City, we didn't manage to do it in their half nearly as much as we did. And we'll use the Fulham game as the example, where we played the exact same system. This is just the difference in quality. In terms of getting the ball back off them, I should say actually, that's our interceptions there. You can see our players doing it. Havertz got one, and that was the highest one up. The rest of them, we weren't pinching the ball off them enough. Over on this side, Ziyech did it a couple of times, which you'd like to see. And again, defensively, we tried to turn those transitions into chances. And again, we had more chances than City. So that is a really good, promising start for the boys. And in terms of the fixtures we've had so far, then a 2-0, 5-1, 6-0, and a 2-2 against Manchester City. Really, really good. As mentioned then, towards the end of November, we will be back. We may play the games against Liverpool and Manchester United, but analyse them in the similar way that we've done today. If you've enjoyed this first episode of Do It Better and you're looking forward to seeing more and are going to try the challenge yourself or any one of those 3 options, do leave a like on the video. It means that you're enjoying this type of series, and we'll do more of it. There'll be another video tomorrow as these will come out for the rest of the week. And so it's a week-long series that you can enjoy, hopefully. Am I better than Frank Lampard? We'll find out together. See you soon then. Love with care. Goodbye. This was good. Fun.